Without these two unlikely allies, the new jihadi code that declares Al-Qaeda's brutal killings against Islamic law would not have been written. Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, the second son of the Libyan leader, and his former enemy, Noman Benotman, a Libyan jihadist, gave us exclusive access to one of the boldest challenges to Osama bin Laden since 9/11. They first met in London 3 years ago.
There was no trust at the beginning, and they didn't trust the Libyan government, Libyan regime.
It was mutual. In the 1990s, Benotman's group, the Libyan Islamic Fighting Group, launched an insurgency to replace Gaddafi's regime with an Islamist state.
They tried to kill my father, and they also planned to kill me personally, and they did kill a lot of Libyans.
But a decade later, both men had decided it was time to make peace.
Afterwards, after a few meetings, dialogue, we spoke to each other. We reached an understanding that there is no big difference between each other, and we are friends, and we can do business.
Gaddafi wanted Benotman to tell his jihadi comrades in a Tripoli jail to end their fight against the government. If they did, Gaddafi was promising to set them free.
He was behind everything and said, okay, you can go to Libya, I will arrange that for you. And it's like nothing is going to happen.
He agreed and flew back on Gaddafi's private jet. Just as well, because he is still a wanted man in some countries.
No, I was wanted. Just last month I was arrested in Egypt. At the airport. It's my name's still around there.
Hardly surprising, he's on so many watch lists. He was a leading member of the feared Libyan Islamic Fighting Group. He fought in Afghanistan and knew Osama bin Laden well, but he lost faith in his radical ideology.
I challenge bin Laden and the people around him and Al-Qaeda, if they can prove they have a real religious Islamic court based on Sharia law in the Sunni madhab. I challenge him and all the people around him and the people defending him and taking his side. If they can prove to us there is a real religious court acceptable from a Sunni point of view.
Saif al-Islam had a lot riding on Benotman. More young Libyans per capita than any other nation are joining Al-Qaeda in Iraq, according to documents seized in Iraq by US forces. And this is where the deal to write the new code took shape, behind these walls, inside the infamous Abu Salim jail. Building trust here was never going to be easy. Abu Salim prison has a formidable reputation. According to human rights groups, in June 1996, Libyan security forces killed more than 1,000 inmates, putting down a revolt. According to eyewitnesses, many of the dead were buried inside the jail. We are the first journalists ever to be allowed inside. It was a very surreal experience. Many of the prisoners here had fought in Afghanistan, Bosnia and beyond. And yet they were seated at tables as waiters in white jackets served juice and nuts. It seemed like anything but a jail. Surprisingly, too, they seemed happy to see us, warm to our questions, and slowly let their story unfold.
We came to the conclusion that trying to establish the Islamic State by using violence and fighting was not the way forward. To start with, we looked at Sharia law, and there is just no evidence in the Quran or in the sayings of the Prophet that what we were doing was right.
If a man makes a mistake, it's okay for him to say, I was wrong. This is okay, especially if this acknowledgement is based on one's faith. For example, I once carried weapons and bombs to attack my country, but that was based on my faith as well. But now I have stopped this way of life, based on what you call conviction in your culture, but we call it faith in our religion.
During his meetings here, Benotman kept careful notes and has shared them exclusively with CNN. It's a diary of the roller coaster relationship between the jihadists and their captors.
There were a lot of obstacles and problems And oh my God, you wouldn't believe it. Even through it took us almost 2 years, to wrap up, to come to the conclusion about this. It's not easy, It's a very complicated issue, And first of all, you need to make sure they understand you and why you are here.
And this was the result. A massive 400-page document, nothing short of a new jihadi code. Its title is clerical in tone, The Recantation, but its words are revolutionary. We used to encourage armed struggle, they say, but now they describe that armed struggle as illegitimate. On page 203, the code quite boldly states, Jihad has ethics and morality because it's for the sake of Allah. This means that killing of women, children, old people, Christian priests and businessmen is forbidden. The prisoners I met in Abu Salim told me they want to win over young Muslim radicals to their new peaceful code, that they haven't just written it to get out of jail.
This is a change in our way of thinking, which we reached through much study and reflection and an examination of our conscience. We also discussed this with well-known Islamic scholars, so change has come. But of course, we are human and we want to be with our families.
For the regime too, it marks a huge change. Not so long ago, Libya was a byword for terrorism.
We are planning to have a democracy in Libya, to have a democratic system in Libya, to have Libya as a cosmopolitan, liberal society, and with a diversity of ideas and principles.
And he says there are lessons here for the United States too.
Even for the Americans, it's important to engage with Al-Qaeda, with Taliban. Dialogue is more effective and more important and more efficient than smart bombs and UAVs and bullets. Dialogue is very important because you can kill 100 or 1,000 terrorists, but next month, next year, you'll be replaced by others, and so on. The most important thing is how to stop new waves of terror and terrorists coming to you.
Could Libya, with its own long history of aiding terrorists, not only be turning its back on its own turbulent past, but helping shape a new war to fight the next generation of terrorists? Nic Robertson, CNN, Tripoli, Libya.